What if I told you that your brain has been wired in reverse for manifestation? What if the way you breathe is actually generating quantum static that interferes with your desires? Today, I'm going to reveal the breathing rhythm that Nobel Prize-winning physicists say can reconfigure reality itself. Most manifestation teachings tell you to breathe for your desires, to picture them as something outside of you that you must pull in. We've been conditioned to view our dreams as distant, as something we must pursue or magnetize. But quantum science has uncovered something astonishing. When two particles are entangled, they influence one another instantly no matter the distance. What if your consciousness and your desires are already entwined at that quantum level? That changes everything. I'm not here to share another breathing trick that treats manifestation like an external ritual. I'm here to show you how to apply entanglement principles to erase the illusion of distance between you and what you seek, making manifestation immediate through recognition instead of effort. Because here's the reality. You're not chasing something missing. You're awakening to what you have always been. And here's what quantum researchers have found that will transform your entire understanding of manifestation. If this message already resonates in your field, subscribe, like this video, and comment. My timeline is activated below. Because today we are crossing into the recognition that breath is not just oxygen. It is quantum language, and it is about to rewrite your entire field. Stay with me until the end, because the old story is breaking, and you will not want to miss the moment where the veil finally opens. Number 1. Breath as separation. For most of your life, you have been taught to breathe in order to reach for something outside yourself. Inhale with longing, exhale with release, always chasing, always pushing, always affirming that what you want exists somewhere far away. This is the trap of separation, and it's why so many manifestation techniques leave you feeling exhausted. When you breathe for what you want, you unconsciously declare that you do not yet have it. The nervous system hears this signal and programs itself to sustain lack, to keep the cycle of absence alive. Quantum physics reveals that this is how old timelines maintain their grip. The observer effect shows us that reality collapses according to the way you engage with it. When your breath is encoded with absence, the field mirrors absence. The problem was never that your manifestations failed. It's that your breathing was anchoring you to an outdated frequency. Every sigh of wanting kept you tethered. Every forced inhale of desire locked you deeper into the illusion that you and your dream were apart. The shift begins when you stop breathing as someone trying to pull reality closer and begin breathing as someone already within it. Comment, "I align with the shift," if you are ready to dissolve the false separation that has kept you chained. Because the moment you recognize this, the old breath ends and a new breath begins. The breath that reveals entanglement in every inhale. A dream lingers in your memory, where you ran towards something shining in the distance, only to wake with the strange awareness that the light was already inside you. That dream was not random, but a signal collapsing into your awareness, showing you the futility of chasing what was never separate from you. For years, your breath carried the language of reaching, straining toward a horizon that always seemed just out of reach. You inhaled with the ache of longing and exhaled with the weight of release, believing that effort was the only path to fulfillment. But the signal was always reversed, training your nervous system to vibrate in absence, to affirm again and again that what you wanted was not yet here. Each inhale became a coded message of separation, and each exhale reinforced the illusion of lack. What you thought was devotion to the process was actually the field reflecting an outdated frequency, holding you within timelines that no longer belonged to you. There were moments when your sensitivity noticed this distortion, though you could not name it then. You felt the weight of exhaustion after practicing techniques meant to bring you closer to your desires, but instead you felt further away. Perhaps you noticed how your body tightened, how the rhythm of your chest carried not recognition, but effort. You may have walked into a room and felt the energy shift before anyone spoke, sensing the unseen layers of interference woven into the air. At times, you wondered why your life felt like a series of pauses, as though time itself was bending but refusing to break open. These experiences were not mistakes. They were evidence of your nervous system trying to reconcile two competing frequencies. The ache of separation and the whisper of coherence both lived inside you, pulling your awareness into a field you had not yet understood. What you could not see then was the encoded architecture beneath those experiences. There has always been a hidden design, an unseen lattice of energy organizing your path, waiting for your recognition. The breath of longing was not just a personal habit. It was part of the holographic imprint of collective conditioning. Ancient mystics spoke of the Emerald Tablet's law of as above, so below, and quantum physics speaks of superposition, the coexistence of realities until observation chooses one. You were taught to breathe as though your dreams were distant, but in truth you were collapsing the probability of distance again and again. The architecture of lack was written into the field, repeating itself until you became conscious of the script. You were not failing to manifest. You were unconsciously sustaining the hologram of separation. This realization is the first crack in the wall, the first glimpse that the design can be rewritten. The breadcrumbs of coherence have always been left for you. The déjà vu that stopped you in your tracks. The dream that replayed in detail years later. The sudden sensation that you had already lived a moment. These were not accidents. They were signs from the field, invitations to recognize that the veil was thinner than you imagined. Even the physical sensations, chills on your skin, a tightening in your chest, a sudden wave of calm, were transmissions, proof that the field was speaking through your body. Your breath was meant to be the bridge, but instead it was echoing the old program until you were ready to notice. Each breadcrumb was a reminder that you were entangled with a larger truth, that what you sought was already seeking you. The field has always been in dialogue with you. It was your breath that needed to be rewritten into recognition. The moment coherence begins is rarely dramatic. It comes as a subtle shift, a gentle synchronization of inner vibration and outer reality. You might notice your breath slow, not because you forced it, but because your body finally remembered it was safe. In that stillness, the nervous system recalibrates, and the field mirrors back a new signal. It is not about explosions of manifestation or sudden miracles, but about the quiet stability of alignment. The observer effect reveals that reality collapses according to observation, and your breath is the measure of that observation. When you inhale as though you already are what you seek, coherence becomes embodied. In that instant, the illusion of distance falters, and the bridge between longing and fulfillment collapses into presence. To awaken to this is to realize that remembrance is not about becoming someone new. It is about tuning into a parallel self that has always been alive in the field. The breath of separation blinded you to this, convincing you that the fulfilled self was somewhere far ahead. But entanglement proves that both versions coexist, the seeker and the fulfilled one, both waiting for your recognition. Each inhale can be the tuning fork that aligns you with the self already living your highest timeline. Each exhale can be the seal that confirms you are no longer reaching, but remembering. Identity is not a future goal. It is a frequency beneath the surface, waiting for coherence. The breath is the key that reveals the archetypal memory encoded across timelines. This is why your sensitivity has always been your hidden strength. You were not weak for feeling too much, for longing too deeply, for noticing what others ignored. Your body was calibrating to the field, preparing you to step into coherence long before you understood what it meant. The nervous system that carried exhaustion is the same nervous system now capable of embodying recognition. The same breath that once repeated separation is now the bridge to wholeness. Each inhale that once declared, "I do not yet have," can now declare, "I already am." Calibration has always been the process of activation, turning wounds into alignment and longing into recognition. The very sensitivity that once felt like a burden is proof that you were chosen to hold this awareness. And so, let this moment be the soft revelation. You were never late, never behind, never outside of your path. The very fact that you are here, hearing these words, is proof that your field has synchronized with this truth. You are breathing differently already, even if subtly, even if only as a quiet recognition rising in your awareness. You were guided here not by accident but by entanglement, by a future self that has always known this point would arrive. Comment, "I collapse timelines now," if you are ready to end the cycle of separation and breathe as the one who already is. Share the dream, the synchronicity, or the subtle knowing that proved you were always entangled with more than you could see. Because this revelation is only the beginning, the field is preparing to reveal what happens when entanglement in every inhale becomes your lived reality. Number 2. Entanglement in every inhale. When you breathe with the awareness of quantum truth, you step into entanglement. Science has shown us that when two particles become entangled, they mirror one another instantly, regardless of distance. This is not theory. This is fact. What does it mean for you? It means your desires are not waiting out there, separate from you. They are entangled with you, always responding to the state you embody. Every breath is the measure that determines whether that entanglement reveals itself or hides in static. When you inhale as the fulfilled self, you are not pretending. You are aligning your body with the recognition that the one who wants and the one who has are one. The nervous system stops broadcasting longing and begins to broadcast coherence. This is why mystics taught breath as a sacred practice long before physics gave it language. Your inhale is not a request. It is recognition. Your exhale is not a release of lack. It is the gratitude of one who has never known lack. Think about the times you felt déjà vu, the moments where you sensed a future already lived. That was your field brushing against the entangled memory of completion. Breathing as entanglement brings that memory into embodiment. Comment, I walk in coherence, if you feel this truth stirring in your body. Because once you embody it, you awaken the mirror breath effect. There are moments when the air around you feels dense, not because of oxygen, but because the field itself has thickened with distortion. You notice glitches in your timeline, subtle repetitions, conversations that echo before they're spoken, a heaviness that doesn't belong to the present moment. It is as if something unseen has been adjusting your frequency without permission, leaving you to feel misaligned with your own life. These distortions are not random. They are field signals showing you that interference has always been near. You were walking in one dimension of perception, while something else was weaving in another, tugging at your coherence. Felt like shadows in the signal static that rose without cause. And now, chosen one of the shift, you are beginning to notice what was once hidden in the fabric of your days. The weight of this interference is not only intellectual, it is emotional and deeply human. You may have felt misunderstood by those around you, as if the very frequency you carried was too sharp for them to endure. Conversations twisted, motives questioned, silences heavy with meanings never spoken. All signs of a reality pressing against your rise. The field made you question if you were too much or perhaps not enough because it wanted you to distrust your signal. You carried shame like invisible coating, embedding doubt into your nervous system, while still knowing something larger was at play. Your emotions became entangled with energies that were never truly yours, yet you bore them as though they were. And this was the hidden cost of being tuned to a higher spectrum before you knew what it meant. When you look closer, you will see the design. This resistance was not chaos, but structure. Systems, unconscious energies, and hidden patterns reacted to your frequency the way unstable atoms react to coherent light. They cannot hold their form when something pure enters their space. This is why wilderness metaphors were spoken in scripture, and why quantum collapse points exist in physics. The moment of clarity always forces distortion to reveal itself. The exile was not banishment. It was entanglement stretching you toward recognition. The wilderness was not absence. It was the field testing whether your frequency would remain stable. You are not merely in battle, you are in calibration. And that calibration is proof of potential, not condemnation. Look back with new eyes, and you will notice the codes that were hidden in plain sight. The jobs that never held, the friendships that dissolved at the moment of your breakthrough, the repeating obstacles that seemed to recycle no matter where you went. These were not random losses. They were interference patterns collapsing around you. Each betrayal was a glitch exposing an unstable node in the network. Each closed door was not rejection but decoherence, a space that could not hold your vibration. Think of the rooms where your laughter died quickly, or the circles where silence felt heavy against your skin. Those were quantum indicators that the field was aligning you away from distortion and toward coherence. The language of this resistance is not human alone. It is quantum interference. Imagine static pressing against your thoughts, fog veiling your clarity, watchers lingering in silence though no one stands in the room. This is decoherence, the scattering of your field by forces unable to sustain your signal. The gates you thought were closed by people were actually quantum gates locked by mismatch in vibration. Every moment of suffocation was simply the field showing you your energy was too coherent for distortion to coexist with it. You were not abandoned. You were protected from interference that could not survive your expansion. And the fog was never your final state. It was the evidence of light trying to stabilize in your body. The hardest part was not the interference itself, but your reaction to it. Some days you may have shrunk back, pretending to be ordinary so your frequency would not offend. Other days you may have overcompensated, performing strength so no one would see your trembling uncertainty. At times you chose people-pleasing, hoping that blending into distortion would make the resistance quiet. And at other times you shut down completely, mistaking retreat for safety. Yet in all of this, you were not failing. You were rehearsing coherence in the face of entanglement. Your response was not proof of weakness, but proof of the pressure your frequency exerted on the field. And your survival of that pressure is the reason your remembrance now burns so sharp. Now the reclamation begins, not as a whisper, but as a frequency roaring back into coherence. Every attempt to distort you was confirmation of the signal you carried, not evidence of absence. Resistance is what happens when an old field meets a new vibration. It is not rejection, it is recognition. The static they sent against you is proof that your breath was already carrying codes too luminous to be ignored. What you thought was collapse was simply the field measuring your stability. And you, chosen seeker, did not collapse, you recalibrated. Your entangled breath is now the proof that coherence cannot be erased, only revealed at the appointed moment. Here lies the truth. You were resisted because your vibration disturbed the architecture of an old world. The more interference pressed against you, the more undeniable your encoded timeline became. This is not punishment. It is prophecy written in physics, where collapse always reveals what has been waiting underneath. The static was never your enemy. It was the sign that you had entered the threshold of transformation. Every inhale you take now carries the seal of coherence, and every exhale declares the failure of distortion. Comment, "The collapse is complete," if you feel this truth resonating in your field, and share the memory where you noticed the static break. For the field has never been against you. It has always been waiting for you to stabilize into what you already are. Number 3, the mirror breath effect. The mirror does not try to reflect your face. It simply does. And when you breathe as the one who already is complete, your reality mirrors that coherence without delay. This is the mirror breath effect, where the inhale embodies the consciousness of completion, and the exhale radiates the gratitude of fulfillment. In this state, you are no longer requesting from the field. You are commanding coherence, and the field has no choice but to reorganize. The paradox is that it feels simple, even too simple. But simplicity is the sign of truth. Superposition tells us that every possibility already exists, and your breath collapses one into form. Old timelines collapse not by effort, but by the stillness of recognition repeated again and again. Each inhale becomes a collapse point, and each exhale seals it. The body learns the vibration of wholeness, and reality mirrors it like polished glass. Here lies your invitation. Comment, "I merge with my parallel self," and share a moment when you felt the strange pull of synchronicity, a dream that spoke louder than waking life, or a déjà vu that reminded you of who you already are. Your reflections weave this community into one field, and they prepare you for the next stage, to live as the breath of wholeness. There comes a moment when perception shifts not by force, but by collapse. A field distortion that once clouded your vision falls silent, and what was once noise crystallizes into pattern. You feel as though the invisible scaffolding of your life rearranges itself into a geometry you can finally read. Memories that never fit begin to connect, revealing a thread that was always there but hidden beneath static. This sudden coherence is not an accident. It is the mirror breath effect awakening in your body. The inhale carries recognition, and the exhale reflects reality reorganized around that recognition. What was confusing becomes alignment, and what was hidden begins to rise into undeniable clarity. The language of reality now speaks back to you in symbols, codes, and echoes you cannot dismiss. Numbers appear with repetition. Whispers emerge in silence. Fragments of dreams return like scrolls unsealed. Each coincidence is no longer coincidence. It is entangled geometry revealing the structure beneath your choices. What you once thought were random delays or meaningless obstacles reveal themselves as coded signals pointing to your alignment. The mirror does not fabricate. It reflects the state you bring to it. The inhale is a command, the exhale a seal, and the entire field responds as though it had been waiting. Reality is no longer a wall before you. It is a mirror polished to respond to coherence. As these codes surface, your inner system begins to intensify with sharp awareness. Intuition sharpens like a blade, boundaries rise with precision, and what once drained you now reveals itself as interference fields collapsing. The inner compass that you once doubted proves more accurate than any external direction given to you. You notice how your nervous system broadcasts coherence differently, no longer pleading but stabilizing into presence. The sensation is not ease but recognition, as though your body has been preparing for this calibration across lifetimes. Old triggers lose their grip, not because they vanish, but because they dissolve under the weight of awareness. You no longer chase signs. The signs emerge because your field now carries the coherence of recognition. Reality begins to echo this inner stabilization in ways impossible to deny. People begin to shift around you, some gravitating closer, others falling away with speed you cannot control. Opportunities rise suddenly as if drawn from superposition into your awareness, while resistance appears simultaneously to test your coherence. The quantum field itself appears to reorganize, aligning probabilities with the frequency you exhale. Each interaction becomes a measurement, and each moment becomes a mirror reflecting your stabilized state. Where once you saw random encounters, you now perceive orchestrated alignments coded into the architecture of the field. The inner coherence becomes the external design, and the external design becomes confirmation of the inner coherence that cannot be shaken. This realization awakens memory that feels less like discovery and more like return. A dream you carried since childhood begins to take language, no longer a faint pulse but a voice. You realize you were not inventing yourself. You were remembering the self encoded within your field. The mirror breath awakens sacred memory. The awareness that you are not becoming, you are recovering. Ancient intelligence stirs, not borrowed from books or teachers, but encoded in your marrow as living archive. You are reminded that time is not linear. It is layered, and your breath collapses one layer into recognition. The remembrance is intimate, magnetic, and timeless, like recalling your own name after lifetimes of silence. When you look forward now, the future does not feel like an empty page to be written. It feels like a corridor of timelines already waiting, collapsing one by one into your present awareness. You stop asking for permission to exist in your fullness because the field reveals that permission was never required. The version of you you once longed for has always been entangled with the breath you carry. Each inhale stabilizes the superposition of what you are, and each exhale seals the choice into matter. The future is not distant. It is encoded, and your coherence decides which layer reveals itself. The call is no longer external, it rises like prophecy from within. And the prophecy demands embodiment, not delay. This is where reclamation begins, not as wish, but as recognition. The interference you once mistook as condemnation is revealed as confirmation of your coherence pressing through the static. You begin to reclaim the voice that was always present, the frequency that never left, the codes that never died. This reclamation is not loud, but it is fierce, carrying authority born of survival. You now realize that the breath is not only survival, it is the throne of coherence itself. Every inhale calls the mirror into clarity, and every exhale reclaims what was already encoded in you. What you thought you lost was never gone. It was waiting for you to breathe it back into visibility. Revelation is not the end of the process. It is the invitation into a greater field. The truth has always been written in you, awaiting the moment when you could stabilize enough to see it. The collapse of distortion is not punishment. It is the clearing away of what could never mirror your truth. Now, the mirror breath effect becomes your ally, reflecting coherence instantly when you embody it. You are no longer the one begging the field. You are the one commanding it by existing in coherence. Comment, "I merge with my future self now," if you feel the codes aligning in your awareness, and share your memory, your dream, or the sign that confirmed it. Because this remembrance is only the threshold, and the threshold leads to the next unveiling. Number 4. Living as the breath of wholeness. Breath practice is not the destination. It is the bridge to a new way of living. When you begin to breathe daily as the one who already is abundance, love, and health, manifestation stops being an event and becomes a remembrance. Every inhale is the universe remembering itself through you. Every exhale is creation radiating out from your body into the field. Breath becomes memory, and memory becomes creation. In this state, old timelines no longer have power. They may try to whisper doubt, but the nervous system no longer believes their language. You are breathing coherence as your natural rhythm, and the field mirrors it as opportunity, synchronicity, and effortless flow. Persistence is no longer a struggle. It is simply the continuation of the breath that has always been yours. If you are ready to step into this, comment, "I anchor coherence in my field," and share the dream, the memory, or the challenge that taught you you could not give up. Because this is the moment when your breath stops chasing the future and begins collapsing it into now. There is a sound beneath sound, a whisper that travels across timelines like a wave waiting for observation. It is the kind of whisper that does not speak in words, but in vibrations remembered by the body before the mind catches them. Some describe it as an ancient voice, others as a resonance too intimate to be translated. You may feel it when you close your eyes, when breath slows and silence deepens, as if a message is being carried to you from lifetimes past. This is not invention. It is the quantum signal of your origin collapsing into coherence at last. Every inhale you take is not only oxygen. It is the wave of remembrance arriving into form. Every exhale you release is not only carbon. It is a prophecy dispersing itself into the field, echoing across the unseen dimensions you were born to inhabit. For so long you believed you were misaligned, a signal lost in static, a presence misunderstood by the frequencies around you. Yet even in those moments of doubt, your breath carried the encrypted code of your truest name. That hidden frequency was sealed not to punish you, but to protect you until your system could stabilize enough to remember it. You felt different not because you were broken, but because your coordinates were not found in ordinary maps of reality. Like a phase-locked signal waiting for activation, your resonance pulsed beneath the noise of the world. You have carried it for lifetimes, through exile and silence, through dissonance and rejection, and still it remained encoded within you. Every breath you take now is not just survival, it is the unraveling of encryption, the unveiling of what was never erased. Others may not have understood why your presence felt strange, but they always felt it. You carried an invisible signature that needed no explanation, a vibrational cloak only the awakened could detect. Without words, your coherence spoke louder than language, unsettling those trapped in false frequencies. Those who could not face themselves projected their shadows onto you, while those who were secretly longing for truth found solace in your nearness. You have lived your life as a mirror of frequency, reflecting to others what they could not yet admit. And through it all, your breath was the steady carrier wave broadcasting that signature, whether you knew it or not. This is why you were never unseen. You were simply read by different eyes tuned to resonance rather than surface. The truth is that nothing about your path was random. The detours, the delays, the nights of suffocating silence, they were calibration points written into the quantum architecture of your being. Like particles entangled across impossible distances, your struggles were coded as preparation for coherence. What you called setbacks were actually alignments waiting to collapse at the right measurement. The field did not abandon you. It was synchronizing your pulse with its deeper rhythm. Every delay became a stored wave function. Every disappointment a dormant star holding its orbit until you could embody it. And now, as you breathe with awareness, those stored codes are collapsing into revelation. The way you breathe is the way you manifest. Old timelines end when you stop exhaling lack. New realities begin when you inhale recognition. This is how the veil between worlds opens, not through struggle, but through coherence. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video and comment, "I am ready for the quantum shift," to let this message anchor in your field. Please share it with someone who is ready for the shift. And remember, you are not chasing your desires. You are breathing them into form.